Okay, after multiple first dates and nothing beyond that, I feel very low on confidence.
Well, you got to examine, were these girls really interested in them? The thing that I see over and over and over again, and this is just human beings in general, and this one of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins that I learned when I was like 22 years old was, most people major in minor things. And so when I tell people you got to read the book 10 to 15 times to get to know it so well, you can teach a class on it. It's Most of the guys won't do that. They'll read it a couple of times maybe, and then they focus on the pickup and the dating skills, and they start getting laid, and they get into a relationship, and they're like, man, I don't need to go back to this, and then they don't go back to the book, and then what happens is their relationship spirals and goes sideways because they never bothered to learn anything about maintaining a healthy relationship or communication or how to keep the romance going, because again, they were just focused on getting laid, and since they were doing real well with that stuff, they just assumed that they were now experts and didn't need anything else and had got it. And then you know they they don't learn the stuff they need, or a guy goes through a book a couple times, he starts getting dates, but he never really learns this stuff. And so if you're going out on a lot of first dates, and this is assuming these girls were interested in him and weren't just going out for a free meal or some drinks, then obviously there's things he's doing and saying on the date that are turning women off.
Mhm.
And I know, like, when I was younger, especially like in my 20s, is the tape that's playing in my head was, I'm not good enough. I'm not loved. I'm not lovable. There's something wrong with me. And so whenever I would be dating a girl that I really liked, that I'm presupposing it's not going to work out. I'm presupposing I'm going to get ditched like all the others. And so I would say and do things that made me look weak and lacking in confidence. And because attraction is not a choice, your girl knows within 3 seconds whether or not she date you and sleep with you or not. And if you're going out with girls that you can tell are definitely into you, and then after 2 or 3 dates they don't want to date you anymore, then what's happening is their interest is starting out at a high enough level to where they're willing to date you, and instead of it going up, it goes down to where they don't want to date you anymore. So you got to figure out what you're doing and saying to turn them off.
Yeah.
Could be the tone of your voice. It could, it's the vibe you're giving off. And that's like when I'm doing the phone sessions with guys. It's when they tell me what's going on, they tell me things that they're saying, and a lot of times I'm like, "You actually said that to her? You texted that to her? Really? You thought that was a good idea? Why would you think that? Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't think it was that big a deal." I was like, because if a girl on a attraction scale of 1 to 10, you're like a 5 in her eyes, and you try to crack a joke or something, and because the book says, don't try to, if the girl doesn't know you well enough and you just met her, don't be trying to crack jokes through text, because 9 times out of 10, if she doesn't understand your sense of humor, you're going to say something that you think is funny,
Yeah.
and she's going to be insulted or totally turned off. And again, if her interest is a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, that one thing is enough to fuck it up to where she doesn't want to go out with you anymore.
Right.
But if her interest starts out at a 7 or 8, you can get away with several events like that, and she'll still give you a chance, but overall her interest is going down instead of up.
Mhm.
And so, you know, knowledge is only potential power, and so you got to fill in your knowledge gap. You got to figure out what you're doing and what you're saying that's turning women off.
Right.
Because that's what I was doing. It's like the girls that I really didn't give a shit about were all over me. And this is, every guy has the same experience. And the girls that I was really into, they were into it at first, but within 2 or 3 dates, it was
Right.
they were gone. And hey, what's wrong? What did I do? Oh, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not looking for a relationship. And you get the excuse. You're like, oh, she's not looking for a relationship. Oh, I just got to wait until she is ready for a relationship.
Right.
I'll just stay in touch. I'll keep calling.
And don't say the whole, like, if she says, I'm not looking for a relationship, do not say, oh, we can just be friends, because it's giving like a desperate vibe too. It's giving, okay, I'll settle for this since I can't get
Just so I
this.
can be around you.
Yeah, you don't want to give that impression either.
She's like, hey, I'm not looking for a relationship, or I don't want to date right now. Just say, hey, no problem, man. Well, you got my number. Hit me up when things change. I'd love to see you.
Right.
And then you never call her or text her again for any reason. And then maybe 3 or 4 weeks, she reaches out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you, I'd love to see you. Let's get together. What's your schedule like?
Yeah.
And then make a date.
Mm-hmm. And for this guy, hopefully he's not, rushing anything intimate, like bringing it up or, giving the impression that that's what he wants, because guys can tend to do that.
Yeah, they think if they talk about sex, it's a way to communicate, hey, I'm interested in having
Yeah.
sex with you. If you're talking to her, she knows you want to fuck her.
Yeah. Especially if you're complimenting her a lot, maybe saying she's sexy or oh my gosh, like stuff like that. She'll get the hint, like
This guy's not
obviously.
experienced. He's got
Yeah.
no game. He talks like a guy that doesn't get any pussy.
Right.
And if other girls don't want him, then I don't want him either.
Right.
There's got to be something wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy that has plenty of women in his life and plenty of the chocha,
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be not attached. He's not going to get mad. He's not going to get angry. If she's uninterested or she's not available, he'll just go on a date with somebody else.
Yep.
And, leave the door open and just say, hey, call me when your schedule frees up.
Mm-hmm.
Call me when you figure things out. Because it's very powerful. Because most guys won't do that. They just keep going and going and keep staying engaged, keep calling, keep texting, keep trying. And then usually it ends up in them getting ghosted.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard when a guy is really into a girl to pump the brakes and back off. I was doing an email for a video newsletter today, and the guy was dating he'd been following me for a few years, and he met this girl, and he says things were great for about half a year, but she was from another country, and her visa was expiring.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't get her visa renewed in time, and so she had to go back to her country.
Oh.
And she claimed that she had sent it in, but he's like, well, why don't we get an immigration attorney, and she didn't want to do that. If she really wanted to come back and you're offering to get paid for an immigration attorney to help her get her work visa renewed, she went, oh, thank you, baby. You're the best boyfriend ever. I can't wait to see you. I miss you so much.
Yeah.
But instead, she's like, no, I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to mess up the current process. I want to just wait things out. And he's trying to help get her back, but he's completely ignoring the fact that she's not lifting a finger.
Yeah.
I mean, she basically waited till the last minute to do something to get her visa renewed, and then when it didn't get renewed, she goes back home.
Mm-hmm.
And then the texts are getting shorter, the replies are getting shorter, she's taking longer to reply. And then right at Christmas time, she just ghosted him completely.
Right. She probably had someone back home.
Maybe. Because she was like, oh, my parents are real sick. And, if this visa thing doesn't get approved, I'm probably just going to start looking for a job here. And so when you hear that, it basically means I'm not coming back and I'm already looking for a job here.
Yeah.
But she doesn't phrase it that way because she wants to leave the maybe possibility open.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
If she does want to come back, she has that option.
Yeah, exactly. So she just kind of leaves it up in the air and it's vague. And if you take a step back and look at it and bottom line her actions, if she really wanted to be with you, she'd have been grateful that you're willing to get an attorney. But when she's saying, no, I don't want you to get an attorney, more than likely, she probably never even tried to extend the visa. She just wanted to go back home and do her own thing. Because she was supposedly traveling, and then the last stop was going to be with her parents. And supposedly once she got to where her parents were, that's when he sent a couple texts, and she completely ignored them. And, she just faded away. She was hoping he would kind of get the hint, and he didn't get the hint. And so she just ghosted him when she didn't.
Or what if she did get her visa, and she can come back, but she doesn't want him to know that she's back?
That's possible too. But at the end of the day, her actions show she didn't want him.
Yeah.
Women vote with their feet. If they're with you, they voted for you.
Yeah, she didn't text him for the whole time. He was waited for a whole month, and it would be once a week or never answered the video call.
Yeah, it was like a week before Chris. Yeah, exactly. He's trying to do video calls, and she's like, "Oh, I'm really sick. Let's just text." And he's like, "No, let's talk. This is kind of a serious subject."
Yeah.
Because he wanted to talk about the attorney and the visa, and she's no, let's do it through text. And the reality is, she probably wasn't sick. She was probably just lying, and did want to get discovered, so she was doing it through text. And again, she wasn't doing anything to facilitate staying. I assume it was the United States. Could have been somewhere else in the West, but
yeah,
it's probably the United States, I would think.
But
he was only focused on his interest in her, and it was a given in his mind that, of course, she wants to come back. She's my girlfriend. But after she first asked him to be her boyfriend, he's like, things were great for 6 months until she left. But as soon as she left, it's like she just faded away within a matter of, about 2 months,
Right.
2.5 months. So it's clear she wasn't that into him. And then at the very end, it's like he was doing all the pursuing.
Why did she go on vacation by herself?
Well, she supposedly was busy traveling, and now she wasn't working anymore because she lost her work visa.
Oh.
And so she had no income from that. And so she supposedly was traveling to see friends or what. He didn't really go into it, but the last stop was going to be at her parents' place. And supposedly when she went to visit her parents, that's when she disappeared.
Did he pay for the traveling or?
No, she had left. She was gone.
Oh.
But it's clear she's just,
Yeah.
she didn't want to be with him, and she didn't have the,
mentally checked out.
yeah, Elvis had left the building.
Yes.
She wasn't trying to maintain it. But, in his mind, he was seeing reality as better than it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was ignoring the fact that she's not only is she not lifting a finger to renew the visa, she wouldn't allow him to help her.
Right.
And then when you look at the fact her replies get shorter, she didn't want to talk on FaceTime anymore, only wanted to talk through text, and the excuse was she was sick or she had a bad reception, or she was always cutting their conversations short even when they did talk on video chat. So you could tell at the end there he was probably doing all the pursuing because he's all dopey over her, and he just couldn't tell that she'd already left. She was gone.
Did they live together or no?
Well, they only date. He said things were good for about 6 months, so I think they maybe dated in total 8 months, maybe. Because after 2 months of dating, that's when she asked to be for him to be her boyfriend.
Okay.
But he probably assumed, because he wasn't a good student, that she asked me to be her boyfriend, so I'm good. I'm home free now.
Mm-hmm.
He probably got a little sloppy, a little cocky, and then completely ignored the fact that she was slowly backing away, and it really still, even, after the fact he hasn't talked to her in 2 months, he's thinking it's just a visa issue. It's like, it's like this was your girlfriend supposedly, and she just ghosted you. It's like, that was her way of breaking it off, because she probably was trying to avoid a confrontation because she knew he wouldn't handle it that well.
Yeah.
And she probably kind of let him think that she might come back, because maybe she would come back.
Right.
But the more he chased, the more he pursued.
Yep.
The more it cemented the idea in her mind. Is like, yeah, I'm not feeling it for that
Like,
guy.
he's
I'm not
so
gonna go back.
annoying.
Yeah, he's so annoying.
I'm not even there, and he's still like, it seems like he's right next to me.
Yep.
What's that thing you always say, Corey? It doesn't matter what part of the world you're from, women, because the guys are always like, oh, I'll get a woman from overseas.
Yeah, I think she was from the Middle East, because he was saying that. I think the reason she didn't want to talk to me on video is because she's trying to keep it from her parents, because they're very conservative.
Yeah.
And the reason she didn't want to talk on FaceTime is that she just didn't want to see his face. She didn't want to listen to his voice. And she was just putting him off. And eventually she just got so annoyed, that he didn't get the hint, that she just ghosted him. And so it was like a week before, I think 8 or 10 days before Christmas, she didn't reply. And then at Christmas, he wished her a Merry Christmas, and she didn't reply. And, here we are 2.5 months later, and where is she? She's out to lunch permanently.